In exam, what you know will never come and what you don't know will be the first question. Filling the pages is not the purpose. You are supposed to know what the question is and you should know how to answer those questions. From which chapters we can get 15 marks question and from which chapter we will not get a 15 marks question. Those flowchart will actually fetch you good marks. And then start explaining each one of the points in brief. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I'm Vidhyaashram from the Department of Commerce and Management in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Welcome to all the students, and now we are in the HRM-II model paper discussion, and I'll be explaining you that how the question paper can come for the 2021. So when we go with this, the agenda remains the same. That is, we go with the part A where I'll be giving you the introduction about what exactly the question paper pattern will be, and then we have concept mapping and something very interesting here. Concept mapping, I'll be telling you that how you are supposed to strategize your thinking and then how to play the examination. And I'll tell you here, examination is just like a game and you are supposed to have that strategy, and I'll tell you how to smarten this examination and get more marks, that is 80 on 80 in HRM-II. Then the part C is the model paper where I'll discuss one of the model question paper. I'll be discussing with you people what are the questions and how the questions can come for the 2021. And the lastly we have is the part D, which is the reason many of you are actually watching this video. That is the important questions which I'll be giving you. These questions are very, very important. So probably here we have 5 chapters in HRM-II. In that 5 chapters, you choose any 3 chapters, and whatever the important question of each chapter I'll be giving it to you, you are supposed to read, and you will be getting more than 70 marks in your main examination. That is 80 if you go with it, that is the external. There you'll get more than 70 marks, and 20 is what internals you have already got, or any of the college where you have not got 20, so you just add 70 plus that number. That will be your HRM-II marks for 2021 examination. So we'll start with the first one, that is the introduction part. Now introduction is very simple, where I'll be explaining you that how the pattern will come, how exactly the things are there. Now the first one is introduction, where you will get to know about how many chapters are there in HRM-II. Now we have 5 chapters. The first chapter is Introduction to HRM. Second is Human Resource Development. It is also called as HRD, Human Resource Development. Very interesting chapter. Very much you are supposed to concentrate here. The reason is human resource development is a very key essential of the human resource management. That is, development is a 21st century thing. That is the reason you are supposed to know about HRD. Next, you have training here. What exactly it is? HRD and training, right? They both are very similar to each other, because through training you can actually get that human resource development, and through the development you can actually get more training also. So next one is executive development. Here you will only come across the term called ED, executive development. And lastly, the 5th chapter is all about the career planning and development. Now very interesting, this is, never skip the career planning and development, because I'll tell you here, it's not about the marks which we are supposed to concentrate. It's the thing that the concept and the knowledge what you get in career planning and the model of career planning, that is very, very important, as well as that is very, very interesting chapter in the HRM-II. So we'll go with the pattern here. The pattern is very simple. You have part A, B and C. In the part A, you'll be getting 4 questions. In that 4, you are supposed to write only 2. Each carries 15 marks. That's the reason it is 30. Now in the part B, what happens is you will be getting 5 questions. In that 5, you are supposed to write only 3. Each carries 10 marks. That is how it is 30. And the last part C is all about, now you'll be getting 6 questions. In that, you are supposed to write 4. Each carries 5, and that is how you got 20. Totally, if you go with it, it is a 80 marks paper. If you follow this video out of 80, you will definitely get 80 on 80. You have already experienced that in the HRM-I. Whatever the questions I give, those questions will come in the 2021. That is how Vidhyaashram will actually train their students, as well as they're going to train all the students whoever has subscribed to Vidhyaashram channel. Now we'll go with the concept mapping. The concept mapping is very simple here. What is that you are supposed to do? See, we have the first, second, third chapter. If you go with 1, 2, 3 and you go with the fourth and the fifth, understand the pattern, how exactly we are supposed to deal with. Now, the first chapter of any theory paper or any practical paper, if you go with it, it is the introduction of the entire syllabus. So what you are supposed to do is go with the first chapter, because you'll be getting how much? 15 marks plus 10 marks plus 5 marks. That is your 30 marks if you go with that. So 30 marks here easily you have got. Next, when you go with these things, the second and the third also, you please understand here. You have something called part A, part B, and we have something called part C. If you go with these concepts here, now 15 into 2 is equal to 30, but you will be getting 4 questions. That means what? There are 5 chapters. In that 4 chapters, you will definitely get a 15 marks question, but you are supposed to go only with 2. Our target is this. Now, which are the 2 chapters where we can actually get 15 marks so that we will get 30? This is what the strategy which you are supposed to focus on. Part B is all of 10 into 3 is equal to 30. Again, here you will get 5 questions. That means what, students? That is, from each chapter you will get a 1 10 marks question compulsory. That is how you are supposed to prepare. But we will go with a smart way, that we just need this 3 chapters where we will get. Now that means what? Any 3 chapters if you choose. But how will you choose? Is any 3 chapters you're gonna choose, but in that 2 15 marks questions should also come. That is how the strategy is. This is the real concept map which you are supposed to go with. And the part C is all of 5 into 4 is equal to 20. Total it is 80. You'll be getting 6. That means, here understand, there are 5 chapters, but you are getting 6 questions. That means one of the chapter, 5 marks question is a repeated one. That means there are 2 5 marks question from the same chapter. Now understand, that one chapter where you have 2 5 marks question will not have 1 15 mark question. That is a strategy here. Now the blueprint we have actually cracked, and we know that now we should only get prepared for 3 chapters, and the 3 chapters will fetch us 10 marks. The 3 chapters will fetch us 15, and those 3 chapters will also fetch 5. If you go with that, 75 marks is sure. That is, if I study 3 chapters, I'll actually be able to write for how much? 75 out of 80. Now here what exactly you are supposed to do? The 3 chapters you are supposed to choose wisely. Now I'll give you the model paper, that is the part C, and you will understand from which chapters we can get 15 marks question and from which chapter we will not get a 15 marks question. Now first one here, when we go with the 15 marks question, what is performance appraisal? Describe the various method of performance appraisal. This is the sure question in 2021. Take it from me. What is performance appraisal? And you are supposed to discuss or describe the various method of performance appraisal. A sure question which you people can get. Second is, what is career planning? See, this is the 5th chapter called career planning, and you are getting this chapter question, that is, what is career planning? Explain the steps in the process of career planning. Next question, discuss the various methods of executive development. This is the 4th chapter. This is what? The 4th chapter. This is, say, your 5th chapter. Now, give the meaning of training. What is the need for training? Describe off-the-job training method. Describe off-the-job training method. They are going with this. There are 3 questions in this. Give the meaning of training is a 1 question. What is the need for training? That is, what are the importance of training, the need for training. And the next question is, describe off-the-job training method. Here also you are supposed to go with describing and giving the various methods of off-the-job training. Now, off-the-job training, say example, I'll give you. Off the job training is a training which is given to the people who are not working but they are somewhere else and they are getting trained under a person called a trainer. Now the people who are getting training, those people are called as trainees. Now then you are supposed to go the methods of off the job training. Now this is the package here for 15 marks question. If you understand here carefully, if you go with this, training actually comes in both the chapters. That is the second chapter as well as third chapter. When you choose the third chapter, you are supposed to choose the second chapter as well. You are supposed to be very wise when choosing the three chapters which you can fetch you 75 marks out of 80. Right? That is how the smart way you are supposed to practice. Now, I'll be giving you how to write the answers also. Now, let's go with the last question which I told you about. Describe the meaning of training. So, what exactly you do is the minute you go with it, write the meaning of training. After that, leave a line and then write definition of training. After definition of training, you go with one more. That is, what exactly is that? That is importance, or you go with needs of training, When you go with that, what exactly you are supposed to do is go with a flow chart. That is needs of training. Then you write what are the needs of training. You write the flow chart. I'll tell you here, students, write flow charts for 15 marks as well as for 10 marks because those flow chart will actually fetch you good marks. And then start explaining each one of the points in brief. After that, it is all done. You have one more set of questions, that is, you are supposed to describe the off-the-job training. So, write the meaning of off-the-job training, the definition of off-the-job training, and then the methods of off-the-job training. So, probably 4 to 5 methods you will actually get it if you have concentrated on our YouTube premiums. Then you will be able to write all these 6 off-the-job training. And then what happens is you are supposed to give the examples also. Then I'll tell you, nobody can take even a single marks from you. That is how you are supposed to write. See, whenever you are writing any answer, you are supposed to have a confidence that 15 on 15 you will take, 10 on 10 you will take, 5 on 5 you will take, because you should not make any mistake. There are many of my students who always ask me a question, sir, for 15 marks, how much we are supposed to write, how many pages we are supposed to fill? My answer to them is simple. MYSURU University doesn't ask you to fill pages by pages. They only want you to know that, do you know the questions answers? Do you know the answers for the questions? So that is what the MYSURU University is always concerned with. The university is concerned with the quality of your writing. It is not about the quantity of what you write. So that's why filling the pages is not the purpose. You are supposed to know what the question is and you should know how to answer those questions. That is what very important, which you people need to go. And when you write all these things with the flow chart and then explaining each one of them, what happens is 2 to 3 pages definitely you will be filling it, right? That is what the quality with the quantity, which matters a lot. Next, 10 marks question, if we go with it, that is a part B, which we are supposed to focus on. Now the question is, explain the role of HR executive. This is the first chapter. Explain the role of HR executive. State the benefit of training of employees and the organization. That is here, employees also and the organization. Again, see, training is a very important chapter. Never leave the chapter called training. Next, you have us discuss career planning and manpower planning. See, career planning and manpower planning. If you have already finished the HRM-I, that is human resource planning, manpower planning and human resource planning, both are the same thing. Now, state the difference between training and development. See, here also, training is a very, very important chapter which you are supposed to read, and you are not supposed to leave that chapter called training, because you have something called recruitment and all those things actually comes in the HRM-I. The same way for training, when it comes, it is the on-the-job training and the off-the-job training, which is very, very important. Now, the same way here also you are supposed to go with it. That is, you need to write the meaning, the definition definition, and then you are supposed to go with the flow chart of whatever the questions they'll actually go with, and then you go with the content, and at last try to give conclusions why it is very important. So when you go with this conclusions, I'll tell you, you will be actually getting more marks, because none of the students in the other colleges, they write the conclusion. Whenever I go for any corrections of the HR papers or marketing papers or any other papers, I always want the students to actually go for a conclusion where they can give what exactly they have learned from that topic and what exactly the benefit of that particular thing is. Now the 5 marks question, if we go with this, a very simple 5 marks question, but let me tell you here, predicting the 5 marks question is very, very difficult. When you start predicting what are the questions which can actually come, I'll tell you, 2 or 3 questions you can actually predict, but not all the questions you can predict. Now say example, write a note on internal mobility. Now if you have not understood what exactly is the mobility means, how will you write what is the meaning of internal mobility? So you are supposed to go through each and every chapter properly. Next, write a note on grievance redressal procedure. Now redressal procedure, you are supposed to write a note on that. Next, write a note on the job training method. See, the minute I am telling you it is a 5 marks question, on the job is not only for a 5 marks question. You can also get on the job training or off the job training for 10 marks as well as for 15 marks. That is, if they're gonna give you a question saying that explain the methods of training, so you are supposed to write on the job training as well as off the job training. Lastly, write a note on emerging trends in HRM. This is the very important topic, because you should know what are the emerging methodology, emerging trends in human resource management. So these are the model paper questions. For example, I'll take a first chapter. Now in the first chapter, if you understand here, now in the first chapter there are 3 questions. If you have taken first chapter as the chapter which you gonna study for tomorrow's examination, all the 3 questions you are supposed to take. That means you should know the answer of all the 3. You can't be like, sir, I have studied the first 2 questions, I have not studied the third one. I'll tell you, examination is what? In exam, what you know will never come, and what you don't know will be the first question. So I'll tell you, say example, you have studied the first chapter, all the 2 questions, but you forgot to go with the third question. Explain the emerging trends of HRM, and that question has come for 15 marks. Now what has happened is, whatever you went with, it went for a flop show. So what is the best one? When you take any chapter, you are supposed to take the complete questions, the 3 questions. That is how you are supposed to study. Now go with the first chapter here. Explain the scope and functions of HRM. That is the first question. Explain the roles of HR executive. Very, very important. HR executive, you are supposed to go with it. The roles, the duties, importance of HR executive is the same answer which you are supposed to go. Explain the emerging trends in HRM also is a very important one, because if you have gone through our YouTube premiere, I have taken one entire day to actually explain the emerging trends of HRM. So second chapter, if we go with, that is human resource development, HRD, very important and interesting chapter. Again, we have 3 questions, 1, 2 and 3. If you go with these 3 questions, understand, explain the methods and objective. See, methods and objective can come for 15 marks of training. Explain the difference between training and development. Now each point you are supposed to go with 10 each. That is like training 10 differences, development 10 differences. It can come for 10 marks. What is performance appraisal? Explain the needs and methods of performance appraisal. You can actually get it for 15 marks. Now understand, sir, you said 15 marks, the third question as well as the first question. What happens? I'll tell you. Training is the same which is continued in the third chapter as well. So third chapter you can expect the same question for 15. So never leave the second chapter and the third chapter. I'll give you an example here. Now we have the third chapter called training. Again, explain the needs and importance of training and development. See, it is a repetition. It is a repetition. If you get a question for 15 marks in the second chapter, you will get a 15 marks in the third chapter, different question. Explain the methods of training. When you go with methods of training, it is the on-the-job training. on the job training and off the job training. Write a note on systematic training plan. You may get a question called systematic training plan. Just go through this. Don't be a person like I'll read the entire systematic training plan for 15 marks or 10 marks. Be a smart student. Go for a 5 marks question only, systematic training plan. And need and importance is for 15. Methods of training is also for 15. So any one you will definitely get. Next, in the fourth chapter, executive development, if I was a student and I was supposed to write the examination, I will never leave this chapter, because this chapter has a straight questions, no twists, no curves, a straight question. Explain the importance and objectives of executive development, or you'll get explain the methods of executive development, or you get explain the process of executive development. That means if I read what is executive development and method, objective, and say process, if I go with these things, I'll definitely get 15 marks plus 10 marks plus 5 marks. So totally I'll get 30 marks from this chapter itself. So I will never leave executive development as a chapter. So the last chapter, it is called the fifth one, career planning and development. It is up to you whether you will go with the fourth chapter or the fifth chapter. Again, the fifth chapter is always a straight questions which you people will always get. Distinguish between career planning and manpower planning. You may get this question for 10 marks. Explain the factors to be considered in career planning. Definitely you are supposed to go with this. Explain the steps in career planning and write a note on career model. Same way, if you go with career planning, differences, second, factors, third, if you go, that is the steps. Again, what happens is I'll be getting the same thing, like 15 marks, 10 marks, and I will also get total 30. But don't be in a dream that, sir, the fourth chapter and the fifth chapter only I'll study so that 30 and 30, 60, I got it. No, don't be in that situation. I always told you, you go with any 5 chapters. In that 5 chapters, go with any 3 chapters. I never mentioned 2 chapters. This is what the disclaimer which I really want to make. So thank you so much for all your patience, and thank you for listening and appreciating our work, which is very much helpful for us to actually build our status in the country. And if you have any doubts regarding this model paper and the important question, please do call us. We are always there to help you. Thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you.